Hey guys, it's Thursday, which means it's time for another video. This is going to be a very long video. I'm going to be actually answering the questions that you guys asked me on my previous video. If you haven't seen that, it's still up. If I get more questions, I can possibly do a part 2 of this. But, as for the reviews that I was going to review today, I'll probably review that later in the day, probably like more at nighttime. I don't know, different time zones. People might have different time zones. But I have them all on a piece of paper just because I can't look at my phone and then do this video. Yes, I do my videos on my phone because I don't have a camera, but that's okay. So I got quite a few questions, and I kind of wrote them down in the order that they were, like, the people commented. And I got about 10 questions from Kramer44348. He actually requested a bunch of movies before on my channel. First question is, do you plan to buy the Scream Factory Blu-ray of Silver Bullet? At some point. I'm not really, I know some people like to buy them for the slips. I like the slips, but I'm not, like, in a rush to buy it just because I have the Umbrella Entertainment release of Silver Bullet. But I kind of want to get the Scream Factory release just because it's a Scream Factory and I love Scream Factory. And Silver Bullet's one of my favorites. The second question is, what is the first horror film you remember watching? Now, I would say Scream. That's what I always say. But I remember watching, like, a bunch of movies, like The Exorcist. I remember I was like 5 when I saw that. The Shining, I remember that. But I feel like Scream probably is one of the first ones. And the thing is, I'm not really that big of a fan anymore. I mean, I was when I was younger, but I mean, they're good movies, but they're not my favorite. The third question is, what horror film do you wish you saw in the theater? Honestly, Sleepaway Camp, just because I just wanted to be there when the ending happened, just because it was probably way more shocking then than it is now. Even more than it is now. Like, I saw Sleepaway Camp at the drive-in, so I guess that technically would count too. I don't know, but I remember my stepmom never saw it, and she was there, and she was really like what the fuck kind of moment, because she's not a big horror fan, but I drug her to the drive-in and she saw the ending to Sleepaway Camp, so that's interesting. Okay, fourth question is, what kind of horror films don't you like? I'm not really picky per se when it comes to horror films, but if there's movies that I would pick that I am not a fan whatsoever, and this might piss some people off, that's movies like Paranormal Activity. I do not like those movies at all. I just think they're very boring. Blair Witch Project, I'm not a fan of that. I know a lot of people like that too. Those kind of movies are the kind of movies they made me hate found footage, but then movies like Hell House LLC made me have more of appreciation for found footage. So I wouldn't say I hate found footage, but there's certain found footage horror films that I just despise. The fifth question he asks is, what are your top 10 favorite zombie movies? I'm not gonna list my top 10 because that should probably be a separate video. I did do my top 5 zombie movies. If you've seen that, I'll just mention some other movies that I didn't mention in my previous video. City of the Living Dead. There's a lot I could go on and on about. I'm really having a brain fart here. I'm trying to think of movies. Probably the original Night of the Living Dead. I mentioned that wasn't my favorite. Return of the Living Dead 3, that's a favorite of mine. Return of the Living Dead 2. I personally love 3 more than 2. 3's, I haven't seen any ones after that. But, yeah, I can't really think of anything right now. It's weird. But yeah, like I said, I'd probably do like a separate video with that. Number 6, what are your top 10 favorite slasher movies? That's another thing that I probably do a separate video on. I'll just mention some of my favorites: Prom Night, Initiation, Mutilator. I wouldn't consider Opera a slasher just because it's more of a giallo. House on Sorority Row, Slaughter High. I have a lot. I'm trying to think of. There's a lot. We didn't say 80s, so Valentine, that's a good one, which is one that not a lot of people talk about. Those are just some of them. Like I said, I'll mention some of them. Number 7, what are your favorite Wes Craven movies? Other than Nightmare on Elm Street, I like Surprise Me Shocker, People Under the Stairs. I'm not, like, compared to, like, John Carpenter, I don't really watch a whole lot of Wes Craven movies. I watch more of, like, John Carpenter. I remember there's a movie that Wes Craven did, My Soul to Take, that was fucking awful. And I know Cursed, he directed, but it got changed drastically to what the original idea was for that. But, like, People Under Stairs, and Shocker are some of my favorites. My 8th question is, what is your favorite of your fan films you have made? There are so many fan films that I made. If you go on my channel, there is a separate playlist just for the fan films that I was in. And the first one, honestly, was like, hey, you want to be in this as Michael Myers? I'm like, sure. And I thought that would be it. Like, no more after that. And I kept getting asked to be in these fan films. And I actually written 2 of them. The one was the Halloween 3 fan film that we did, and then the Happy Death Day fan film. And my favorite, I really like The Wrench Killer, because that's an original story that John Ferreira, aka What Pisses Me Off, did. He thought of the story when he was younger, and wanted to make like a fan film into it, so that's what we did. The Halloween one, the Evil Comes Home, or I think that's the title. There's like a lot of alternate titles, but that was very long. Like, we did it in separate parts, but he managed to put them all into one like big movie, and it ended up being like 2 hours long or something. And it's just craziness, because at one part I'm Michael Myers and I'm myself, and I kill myself, and it's just like so strange. And actually, if you've watched that, the death scene of Michael Myers was originally supposed to be like Halloween H2O. I actually filmed my head getting chopped off, which basically I just honestly stuffed like stuff inside the mask and I kind of like threw it into the shot. But that never made it the film, and I'm kind of bummed about it, but that it happens. Some stuff just never makes it. I wish I still had the footage, or because I'd totally post it, but I don't have the footage anymore. But yeah, probably like the Halloween one would be one of my favorites, just because it went on. The Wrench Killer would be a second favorite, and then like the Sleepaway Camp fan film, just because it's Sleepaway Camp. All right. Excuse me. Alright, number 9. What is your favorite horror remake? My favorite horror remake probably would be the Evil Dead remake, just because I remember seeing that in the theaters and absolutely loving it. The fact that it took itself more seriously than like any of the Evil Dead sequels. And the fact that Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were a part of the remake too. I think they were producers of it. And I just thought it was very dark. Like I said, it took itself seriously. There were some silly stuff, but it was still like a very dark movie, and I Wish they made a second one, but shit happens. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. Number 10, what is your least favorite horror remake? Alright, now I'm gonna say it. This will probably piss a lot of people off too. I don't really care. The remake of I Spit on Your Grave. Now, I don't like the original at all either, so it's really, I can't say, oh, I like the original, but I hate the remake, like everybody. But I can't stand the remake. It was a while since, like, forever ago since I last saw it, and then I have Tubi on my phone and my TV, and I Spit on Your Grave, the remake was on there. All of the sequels were too, and I refused to watch the sequels. But I was like, I guess I'll give it another shot, because I didn't like when I was younger too. Obviously, a younger kid watching something like that probably isn't the best thing. But I watched it, and I absolutely hated it. It was disgusting. It was too much for me. I'm not a fan of, like, rape on screen. Like, it's just, and they, like, are going into detail about it, like, talking about how, oh, her ass is bleeding. I'm like, why? Like, why do you have to do that? What is the point of doing something like that? And even the revenge is, like, over the top. Like, her revenge, it's way over the top. There's no need, at least in the original, it was, like, kind of controversial for its time, but it wasn't, like, that disgusting. This one was just, like, way too much. Now, I've seen some disgusting stuff, and it's all, like, I don't mind disgust, but it's just, like, no point of it. Almost like Hostel. Yeah, I don't like those either. But, yeah, I don't like that remake at all. Thank you, Kramer44348, for the questions. I'm gonna go on to more questions. The next couple questions are from, hey, isn't that Devon Graham? Which I laugh every time I see that, just because of Halloween. And I'm like, hey, isn't that Devon Graham? But, these questions are from him. His first question is, favorite horror franchise. Now, it used to be Friday the 13th when I was younger. Now it's Halloween. I just love Michael Myers, everything about Michael Myers. I love collecting the masks, the Michael Myers masks, the movies. I love the figures. It's just, I love Michael Myers. Number 2 is, ever visited any filming locations. Sorry, I, put my thing down like that. But, filming locations. Not anything like Friday 13th or anything like that. If you've watched my previous videos, and if you're familiar with the Hell House LLC movies, I actually used to live, not anymore, but I used to live, like, very close by the filming location of that, which is a Halloween haunt that they do every Halloween called the Waldorf Estate of Fear. And I actually got a chance to be an extra in the third Hell House movie, and it was just a fun experience. I ran around in the rain, and it was fun, like, running around and stuff. You obviously don't get paid for it, but it's just the fact of being there that is really fun. As for any other filming locations, technically I didn't specifically visit this filming location, but The Prowler, if you know, was filmed at Cape May, New Jersey. I was on vacation like 2 years ago, and my family and I, we went to the shops at Cape May, and it was me, my fiance, my sister, and her boyfriend at the time. We were walking around Cape May, and we passed, like, the inn at Cape May, which is where, like, the party scene and everything is filmed from The Prowler. And then we walked by, and we were looking at the buildings, and I saw, like, some of the buildings from the actual movie, so that was cool. I mean, I technically didn't specifically visit the filming locations of The Prowler, but I was there at the time, and I'm like, oh, that's from The Prowler. But yeah. Number 3, favorite foreign horror film. Now, this counts as a foreign horror film because it's Italian, but they have, obviously, like, the English dubbing and stuff, and that is Demons. That will always be my favorite. I love Demons. I love the whole idea. There's really no big story about Demons, but it has 80s metal, It has gore, it has demons, it has just somebody, like a person riding around on a like a motorcycle or a dirt bike in a freaking movie theater. It's just, if you haven't seen Demons, check it out. Number 4, overrated horror film. A horror film I think is overrated. Oh man. Now, there's a lot that I think are very overrated. Like, people talk about all the time. I don't want to. You know what? I'll say it. It Chapter 2. Honestly, It Chapter 2. No, I have it, and I've met like the kids from the first one. A couple years ago. They're cool kids. I don't mind the first one, like the first It. That was good. I wouldn't watch it all the time, but It Chapter 2 I thought was so overrated. And it was too long too. Like, it just wasn't as good as the first one. It was very overwhelming, or not overwhelming, underwhelming. Just very underwhelming. Yeah. I could go on and on about horror films I think that are overrated. But I'm gonna stop there. Alright, number 5, favorite Friday the 13th kill. Favorite Friday the 13th kill. Probably will have to be in 5, which people are gonna be like, that's not Jason, that's not Jason. I don't really care. I know it's not Jason. I like 5. Just because Violet in that film, her robotic dancing to that song, His Eyes by Suda Echo, I love that song. I'm not gonna lie, I listen to that like daily. But I love her kill just because she's dancing like a robot, like very weird, and she turns around and gets stabbed. Which originally they were gonna stab her in the private area. If you've watched the Crystal Lake Memories documentary, they were going to stab her there, but they were like, nope, the MPA did not want that, so she just got stabbed in the stomach, which would have been cool to see her get stabbed there. A close second would be Jeff and Sandra's death, why did I say deaf? Death, and Friday the 13th Part 2 with the spear right through the both of them, which they kind of copy that off of Mario Bava's Babe Blood, aka Twitch of the Death Nerve. Stab right through the bed. I wish they uncut that. I wish we could see an uncut version of that death, because that would be cool. But yeah, those are probably some of my favorites. Alright. Thank you. Hey, isn't that Devon Graham for the questions? The next question is from Danny Partridge, and he asked, what film made you a fan of horror movies? Honestly, I keep going, but, probably The Exorcist, because I remember when I was little, like, absolutely loving every second of it, which you'd think, why would a 5-year-old not be afraid of The Exorcist? I absolutely loved it, and I just remember there was a time when I was about, like, 10 or 11, and my parents didn't want me to watch horror films anymore. But, I'd go to my mom's house, like, every other weekend, and I would make her rent, we'd go to 48 Hours, and I would rent, like, horror films, and I'd be like, don't tell my dad, so, totally just threw her under the bus there, but, yeah, nobody could stop me from liking horror. It was just something that I loved ever since I was as young as I can remember, and I will love it till the day I die. But thank you for the question, Danny Partridge. The next question is from Andrew Garrett, which there's actually a few questions, and he asked favorite horror soundtrack. Probably, it's a toss-up between the original John Carpenter's Halloween or the new one, because I love some of the, like, Halloween Triumphant. I love The Shape Returns, The Shape Hunts Allison. Just, those are some of the few things that I like, but I love, in the original Halloween, everybody loves the theme song, of course, but one of my favorite things is the Halloween 1963, which is obviously when the music that plays when young Michael is stalking Judith, going up the steps and everything. I just love that, like, the piano in that, the ding thing in the beginning. it's just very haunting to me. Even when, like, the do 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 do, I don't forget the name of that, but I think it's Laurie's theme, it might be. And that, I think it's Laurie's theme. But those are just, honestly, some of my favorites. Alright. What do you like other than horror movies? This will be a surprise. I like Marvel. Mostly Spider-Man. But, I love Spider-Man. Now, this will be a shock to actually quite a few people. Well, family, people in my family obviously know this, but I really love musicals. Like, not like Rocky. I mean, I like Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I like Grease. I like the weird musicals too. Like, there's like Carrie the musical. I like Carrie the musical. Heather's the musical. I like that. I'm a big musical person too. Like, I love horror, but I also like musicals. Obviously, I love horror more than musicals, but yeah, I really like musicals. Which is gonna be like, people are gonna be like, what the fuck? But, yeah. Oh, what do you like other than horror movies and horror-related stuff? I don't really know what you mean by horror-related stuff. Like, figures, maybe? I mean, I collect, like, if you look, yeah, The Walking Dead's on, but this is just some of the stuff. If you watched a collection video, and right there is one of the newest things. My fiance, he wanted that for the longest time. It's an animatronic of Jason from Freddy vs. Jason. He always wanted that. And when he was younger, he actually had the remake one. They sent him the wrong one, but he had that one. And when he was younger, he actually had a really bad house fire, and he lost, like, a lot of his stuff. And he never got his old animatronics back. He had, like, a Pinhead, Michael Myers, the Jason, and he saw the Jason, this Jason over here, right there. He saw that online, and he's like, that's the one that I originally wanted. And he got it, so. But there's that, and then, like, the Sam and everything. But I guess that's what you mean by horror-related stuff. I don't know. But we collect, like, figures, movies. Those aren't even all our movies either. Like, those movies, and then there's, like, a shelf over there by the Sam. But those aren't all our movies. We have a lot right behind Jason in that cabinet there. I have a few in the bedroom. We just have a lot of movies. But we wanted to see all the stuff, so there's all our stuff. But thank you for the questions, Andrew. Alright. Now, the last question is from CryptoWatch, aka Thomas. And I think I know who you actually are. But this is like a second channel. Why haven't I watched The Birch? Now, I looked at this question, and I looked up The Birch, and there's a short film, which I didn't get a chance to watch, and then there is, like, a series on Facebook Watch based off of, I think, the short film. I don't know why I haven't seen The Birch. Honestly, I definitely should check it out. If it's like a short-lived series, or like a not short-lived, but like a short series, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Because right now I have, like, so many series that I'm watching right now. It's, like, hard to follow, like, all these series. But yeah, thank you for the question, CryptoWatch, aka Thomas. That's what I wrote on the paper. But thank you guys for the questions. Like I said, if you want me to do part 2, you can comment on the old video, or you can comment on this, and I will totally do a part 2. Like I said, I probably will do a review of the movie later. But yeah, thank you guys for asking me questions. I actually really like doing this because it's kind of cool to answer these questions that people are asking me. I don't know, I wish I could do live streams. Like I said, I can't because I don't have enough subscribers. But thank you guys, and stay tuned for the review soon.